The laugh left my mouth before I could stop it. It was supposed to be a joke. A harmless memory dragged out of childhood to fill the silence between two people who had spent too many years apart. I looked at her, standing under the fading orange light of evening, and smiled the way people do when they're trying to hide how much something still matters. "I remember when we were kids," I said, forcing a grin, "you promised you'd marry me one day." I expected her to laugh. I expected her to roll her eyes. I expected anything except what happened next. She looked straight into my eyes, and with a voice so soft it almost broke me, she said, "I'd still say yes." And in that moment, the entire world stopped. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the kind of love that survives time, pain, and distance, please like this video, comment below, share it with someone special, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. Her words hit me harder than any confession ever could. Because she didn't know. She didn't know that for 10 years, I had loved her in silence. She didn't know that every birthday wish, every late-night regret, every "what if" had somehow led back to her. She didn't know that hearing those 5 words shattered every wall I had built just to survive. Because if she meant it, then why had life kept tearing us apart? Her name was Aisha. She had been the first person who ever made loneliness feel less terrifying. We grew up in the same neighborhood, in houses so close that our rooftops almost touched. Summers meant chasing each other with water buckets, stealing mangoes from old Uncle Kareem's tree, and sitting under the stars talking about impossible dreams. I was the quiet kid. She was sunlight. I was cautious. She was fearless. She talked enough for both of us. She fought bullies twice her size. She once punched a boy for making fun of my stutter. I still remember her tiny hands on her hips as she glared at him. No fear. No hesitation. Only loyalty. That was Aisha. One evening when we were 12, we sat on the rooftop sharing cheap orange candy. The sky was painted gold. She looked at me and said that if no one else wanted us when we got older, we should just marry each other. She said it like she was proposing a backup plan for life. Simple. Practical. Permanent. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. She held out her pinky. I linked mine with hers. Promise made. Childhood moved on. Then life happened. My father lost his job. Debt swallowed our home. I watched the strongest man I knew slowly become someone exhausted by survival. We moved away. Far away. I still remember the day I left. Aisha ran behind our truck barefoot, crying. I wanted to jump down. I wanted to stay. But I couldn't. I pressed my palm to the back window until I couldn't see her anymore. And just like that, she was gone. Or at least that's what I told myself. At first, we stayed in touch. Calls became messages. Messages became rare. Rare became nothing. Years disappeared. I buried myself in responsibility. I worked while studying. I skipped meals to save money. I became the dependable son. The practical one. Dreams became luxuries. Love became irrelevant. Then my father got sick. Hospital bills piled up. I worked harder. Slept less. Stopped feeling. Some nights, I would stare at the ceiling and wonder what happened to the boy who once believed in rooftop promises. Then 3 years ago, my father died. Grief doesn't always arrive like screaming. Sometimes it arrives as silence. As numbness. As waking up one morning and realizing the world kept moving while yours stopped. After the funeral, people went home. Food stopped coming. Calls became fewer. And for the first time in my life, I was truly alone. I became emotionally distant from everyone. Even my mother worried. But I had nothing left to give. Work. Home. Sleep. Repeat. That was my life. Until 2 weeks ago. My mother handed me an invitation card. Cream-colored paper. Gold lettering. A wedding. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the name. Aisha. My hands froze. My chest tightened. My mother quietly said she had heard Aisha's family had moved back to the city years ago. I couldn't breathe. Wedding. Bride. Aisha. Every emotion I had buried came clawing back to life. Jealousy. Regret. Pain. Hope. And worst of all, questions. Did she remember me? Did she forget me? Did our promise mean anything? I spent the entire night staring at that card. I told myself not to go. I told myself closure was unnecessary. I told myself she belonged to another life. But something inside me refused. So I went. The wedding hall glowed with lights and music. Laughter everywhere. Perfume in the air. People smiling. And me? I felt like I had walked into my own execution. Then I saw her. And everything else disappeared. She was standing near the stage in soft green clothes, not bridal red. That confused me. She looked older, of course. More graceful. More composed. But her eyes. Those were the same eyes. Warm. Bright. Alive. She turned. Saw me. Stopped breathing. At least that's how it looked. For 3 seconds, neither of us moved. Then she walked toward me. No. She ran. And before I could process anything, she hugged me. Tight. Desperate. Real. I stood frozen. Her voice cracked near my shoulder. You came. Just 2 words. But they carried 10 years. We talked outside where the music softened. I learned the wedding wasn't hers. It was her cousin's. Relief hit me so hard I nearly laughed. We talked for hours. About life. Loss. Distance. Regret. Everything. And yet somehow, we avoided the one thing that mattered most. Us. Over the next days, we met again. Coffee. Walks. Conversations. Slowly, painfully, beautifully. It felt like home. She remembered everything. The candy. The rooftop. The pinky promise. Even the stupid nickname she gave me. Especially that. I started smiling again. My mother noticed. She smiled too. For the first time in years, I felt something dangerous. Hope. But hope is terrifying when you've spent years expecting disappointment. Because there was one problem. A big one. I was broke. Not hopelessly poor. But far from stable. Still paying debts. Still carrying family responsibilities. Still trying to rebuild after loss. And Aisha? She had options. Successful men. Stable men. Men who could offer certainty. What could I offer? Love? Love doesn't pay rent. Love doesn't cover bills. Love doesn't erase insecurity. So I kept silent. Again. I convinced myself friendship was enough. Better to stay close than risk losing everything. Then came tonight. The evening that changed everything. We sat on the rooftop of her family's house. The same rooftop. The same stars. Just older hearts. Silence stretched between us. So I joked. That stupid joke. I remember when we were kids, you promised you'd marry me. Then she said it. I'd still say yes. I couldn't breathe. I turned toward her. She wasn't smiling. No teasing. No laughter. Only truth. Raw and terrifying. She looked at me with tears gathering in her eyes. And suddenly everything made sense. Every lingering glance. Every pause. Every unspoken thing. She had been carrying this too. For years. I asked the only question that mattered. Why didn't you tell me? Her answer broke me. Because she thought I stopped caring. When I disappeared. When messages stopped. When silence grew. She believed she was the only one holding on to a childhood promise. She waited. For years. Then forced herself to move on. Not because she stopped loving me. Because waiting without hope was destroying her. I felt sick. Because my silence had hurt her as deeply as hers hurt me. Two people. Same love. Same fear. Same mistake. I told her everything. How I loved her. How I never stopped. How losing my father broke me. How poverty made me feel unworthy. How I believed she deserved better. Tears rolled down her face. But she smiled through them. Then she said something I will carry for the rest of my life. She said love was never about finding someone flawless. It was about choosing someone and facing life together. She said she didn't need perfection. She needed honesty. She needed partnership. She needed me. Not future me. Not rich me. Me. The broken one. The tired one. The real one. I cried. Actually cried. I hadn't cried like that since my father's funeral. Years of pressure cracked open. And instead of stepping away, she held my hand tighter. That's when I understood something painful and beautiful. Sometimes we reject love not because it isn't real, but because we don't believe we deserve it. And that belief can steal years. Years that could have been filled with healing. Laughter. Connection. Life. I looked at her and finally stopped running. I told her yes. Not as a joke. Not as nostalgia. Not as a backup plan. As truth. Yes, I wanted a future with her. Yes, I wanted to fight for us. Yes, I was terrified. But yes. Always yes. She laughed through tears. That same childhood laugh. Sunlight. Warmth. Home. And then she did something so ridiculous, so perfectly Aisha, that I burst out laughing too. She held out her pinky. Just like when we were 12. No grand speech. No dramatic gesture. Just a pinky promise. I wrapped mine around hers. Promise renewed. This time with adult hearts that understood what commitment really costs. Before we reach the ending, if this story has touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like these survive because of viewers like you. And I have a special request for you. Comment below. Some promises are worth waiting for. 1 year later, we got married. Nothing extravagant. No luxury venue. No giant decorations. Just family. Close friends. Tears. Laughter. And peace. During the ceremony, my mother cried more than anyone. Afterward, she held my face and whispered something I'll never forget. She said my father would have been proud. I looked up at the sky. For the first time in years. I felt light. Not because life became easy. It didn't. Bills still came. Responsibilities remained. Problems existed. But I was no longer carrying everything alone. That changed everything. Love didn't magically solve our struggles. It transformed how we faced them. Together. And maybe that's what real love is. Not rescue. Not fantasy. Not perfection. Partnership. Choosing each other again and again. Even when life is messy. Even when timing is cruel. Even when fear says run. Because sometimes, the person meant for you isn't someone new. Sometimes they're the one who knew your broken pieces before the world taught you to hide them. The one who saw you before masks. Before pain. Before survival hardened you. The one who loved the real you all along. And if you're lucky enough to find that person, don't let fear speak louder than love. Because silence can steal years. But honesty can save a lifetime. And sometimes, a childhood promise made under stars becomes the very thing that brings two lost hearts home. She once promised to marry me when we were kids. I joked about it years later. And she said yes again. This time. Forever. I hope this fits your YouTube storytelling style, cinematic, emotional, and highly engaging.